life or as being a college student and just discovering myself as a person and just what adult life has to offer for me, really.
I am actually really excited for my generation to go into politics and to see what kind of change comes from that.
Interacting with friends, family, having more people in a space when you're being celebrated, and just living a regular life again.
The thing I want to remember the most is probably my childhood. I think that's something that a lot of people end up forgetting.
I think what I hope to remember forever is definitely the experience that COVID and being in quarantine had for me personally and for other people.
Just how many people overcame it, what families had to endure during this time with losing people. School to be normal again, without masks.
I am very excited to start going out again and traveling and seeing people outside of my own neighborhood.
I hope that we all stay united or achieve something as hopeful as world peace.
I would say being with my friends in school and the little jokes we would make.
Talk and just make jokes, and it definitely made me laugh a lot, and I think that's really important, especially with what was going on.
Social media, I kid you not. Well, I wouldn't say a piece. I would say definitely my Spotify playlist.
Hip hop and R&B music.
Art in general has held me down. People are able to kind of come together through art and find a kind of unity.
I think art just is just gonna be more impactful in terms of giving people more creative expression in the future and just finding themselves in it, really.
I think it just brings so much joy to many people. It's just like a light in the darkness, I would say. If you just reach out to more schools, more young people, and just get them into the arts with Lincoln Center and whatever else, I feel like if they see someone reaching out to them, wanting them to come, it'll be easier for them to come, because usually that doesn't always happen.
So I think it would be really cool if, schools were given opportunities to take kids to, good shows and things like that, and that ties in with the accessibility, because that could transfer on a passion to kids who had never seen art before.
I would just say finding a scope of ideas that young people can relate to. For all the kids, I'm so happy that we're all here graduating. For those who couldn't make it in terms of passing away, or we've all made it to this point. We're so strong, and we're all here, we're all graduating, so remember to stay strong.
All right, camera set, and it's all you.
All right, so I am here with the brilliant Victoria Richardson, aspiring educator, poet, recent college graduate, and now I guess knee-deep in graduate school, but somebody who's always had a very transformative way of looking at teaching and learning. Even when I knew you as a ninth grader, there were ways that you critiqued the system of education and ways that you offered new possibilities. And so our theme today is this concept of teaching, learning, and radical hospitality. Feeling welcome, feeling whole, feeling like a space can make you feel as though you're home. So I just want to open up by just you telling us a little bit about you and your relationship to teaching and learning.
My relationship with education is complicated, I think, in various ways, but there's a love that I have for teaching and learning, which is why I aspire to be an educator, a lot because of what I experienced in the classroom and how it impacted my identity and the formation of who I am becoming.
So I've seen you in different parts of who you are, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen you as a ninth grader who was quiet and introspective and reflective and not necessarily out there, not giving much to the world, and maybe giving much to the world, but not verbally, right? Yeah. Then I've seen you on a stage, right? As a former winner of Science Genius, as a poet. And when you're on stage, a certain part of you that is not alive in the classroom just becomes present in the atmosphere?
So I think it was in school that I learned that I couldn't bring that part of my identity into the classroom, right? I always wanted to be loud and energetic with all this energy, but that was always stifled in the classroom. There's no room for me to be Poet Victoria in the classroom when there's teachers who have to manage classrooms or get students to pass the next test, right? I was always punished for being too loud, for asking too many questions, for being too animated, for being me. So I learned that that part of myself could not exist in the classroom. And two, I started looking into education in different lenses, through a lens as a teacher, as an educator. So now when I'm in the classroom and I'm in the front of the classroom working with my students, I feel like I can be that person again because there's no one who's telling me that I can't be. And also, I think that young people welcome that the way that my teachers in the past did not. So I think I always did want to be that part, have that part of me exist in the classroom, but there were people around me as a Black woman, as a Black girl, telling me that I could not be that way. So I had to hide it in order to do well, in order to stay out of trouble. You know, contrary to popular belief, I got in a lot of trouble at school for being who I was. So I think now when I'm on the other side of that as an educator, I feel like this is my redemption, right? My reclaiming of my identity, because I get to bring that back into the classroom. So when I'm in the front of the classroom or in the back of the classroom or sitting next to students, I feel like that's the part of me that my students welcome and enjoy and are inspired by. And they let me be that.
That's so, like, all you said is such magic. And I want to hone in on one piece of it, right? The piece of it that I want to hone in on is like this idea that, you know, teaching for you is not redemption. Like, teaching for you is an opportunity to, like, reclaim a piece of yourself that school stifled. And to me, that sounds like you're saying that teaching for you is like being on stage, and that teaching is a performance art.
Teaching is a performance to me because it's something I'm also passionate about, right?
Yeah.
It's a place where that passion can show and can be demonstrated and picked up, and that's fun for me, right? So it doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like a chore. It's something that I feel like moves me, right? And it gives me the chance to move other people. So when I'm on stage, and I'm talking, I'm performing, whatever the case may be, I have everybody's attention. I'm giving out so much energy and they're giving it back to me. And I feel like the classroom is the same way. When I'm in the classroom and I'm teaching and I'm passionate about whatever I'm teaching about, I give out an energy and I receive the energy back. And I feel like that's how teaching should be. It should be a flow of energy back and forth, not me lecturing in front of the classroom and students they're bored, don't really care about what I'm talking about. I feel like the same energy that you get when you're watching a performance on stage is the same energy you should get in the classroom.
You're on fire, right? Because I think this thing about radical hospitality is the perception that the teacher always has to give something out to make them feel welcome. But folks don't understand that it's bi-directional, right? Like, if you give forth that pure energy, you get that energy back. It's like, it's a cyclic process. And another thing that you're saying is this idea of, like, you know, that it's restoration. Like, you know, you're restoring back to yourself as you're being restored. And a lot of people think that this performance art piece is superficial. And you're showing that there's a depth to performance. That performance is not just like, you know, watch me, It's like, nah, I'm giving you truth and receiving truth back.
The stage is home, right? Because think about it, home is where you feel most comfortable, where you feel like you can be yourself. You can take your shoes off, kick back, and just live without judgment, without feeling like you need to be overly aware of your surroundings, or, you know, you get to let go. You have a long day, you go home and you let go. And that's how the stage feels for me. Nothing else matters when I'm on the stage. I don't have to worry about, you know, the things that are going on in my life. When I'm on stage, it's just me and the stage, my audience, and the energy that we're giving back and forth to each other, right? So it's just a freedom that I feel like I rarely get to experience unless I'm somewhere that feels like home.
And could you imagine if all classrooms where we worked felt like home?
Right.
Where the classroom is the escape from the oppression of the world.
Right.
Where the teacher gives their full self to all the young folks, and then the young folks give it back, and they build this euphoria, and it's this place of magic. And I think that's what radical hospitality provides, right? It provides a lens for us to be able to make sense of a classroom as a space and a place of magic, that is an escape from oppression and an opening up of a radical new possibility. So before we started recording, you said something to me. You described your family barbecues. And to tell people who are listening what you told me about your daddy's cooking.
I said, first of all, my dad is the best cook that I know. And I think that because everything he makes, down to ramen noodles to some fire jerk chicken, is made with love. And when you taste the food, you can taste the love. It's
Wait,
not
stop. I'm not gonna let you pass by that. I want you to say that again and say it slowly for people, because I think there's a lot to unpack there. You said when you taste your dad's food,
I can taste the love.
What does tasting the love mean?
It means that you know that this food was made with love. It wasn't just ingredients thrown in a pot. It was thoughtful. It was intentional. It was from love. The person who made this loves what they're doing, and they love me by sharing what they love with me, you know? So
that's the essence of teaching and learning to me. Like when you said, I can taste because the idea of love is associated with feeling.
Right.
But I think feeling encompasses all of the emotions in the world. Like, so if somebody can taste the love, it means that they can feel the love. It means that they can smell the love. They can touch the love. And just like your dad makes food that makes you taste love, teachers can create classroom environments that make young folks breathe in the love, right?
Yes.
And one of my favorite sayings, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, is that teaching without love is just talking.
Yeah. I feel like we're teaching without love. You really don't care who's receiving it, what they're receiving it, how they're receiving it, what you're teaching. But when love comes into it, it's more intentional. It's more driven.
I love it. I love the idea that love is felt when it is shared with intention. Like there's a certain deliberateness about
Right. ensuring
ensuring that whoever's receiving it can really like swallow the information and digest it and feel full and feel whole. First of all, you're brilliant. I want you to know that. Like you are brilliant beyond measure. Like you're brilliant. Like look at my eyes. Like you're brilliant. Yeah. So we are back on the green, this amazing art installation with another person to be interviewed, this time a student. This whole thing is about this concept of radical hospitality. Like, places and classrooms especially that make people feel welcome. And one of the things that make a place hospitable is that people are called the best of who they are. Like you call somebody brilliant, they become brilliant. You call somebody
Right.
smart, they become smart. And your parents called you charisma and you became charismatic. I think that's so fly.
I feel like once I get into dancing, it's like my space, it's my comfort. So like I could do whatever I want, be whoever I want without anybody, like their opinions getting into my head, because that's what I feel confident in. And then once I started like getting to dancing, my personality really brought that out of me. And I will watch Dancing with the Stars and they're like, oh, you have this charisma. And I'm like, oh, that's my name. So then I feel like hearing that, it just made me get into that charismatic character and that personality.
I know that you guys have danced over the academic year. You've been dancing through COVID. What is it about dance that makes you feel welcome? Like, what's the feeling when you're dancing?
I feel like once I get into dancing, it's like my space, it's my comfort. So like I could do whatever I want, be whoever I want without anybody, like their opinions getting into my head, because that's what I feel confident in. Like definitely during the pandemic, everything shut down. So like I shut down as well. Like I wasn't able to dance as much. So like it was hard for me to get back into it. So like when I started dancing again, it's like let go of like that hurt, that pain, the tiredness, and feeling locked away. So dancing just made me like burst out and like forget everything around me. Whatever I'm feeling, I could just channel myself.
Just to me, it sounds like when you dance, it feels like home.
Definitely.
It does.
Definitely.
So now I want to shift a little bit, right? If dancing makes you erase the pain, dancing makes you forget what's going on in the world, and it feels like home, I think all the time about young folks that I talk to and how they talk about classrooms. And classrooms don't describe classrooms like, I see you shaking your head. Like, so talk to me about the difference between a classroom and dance. Like, what is it about the classroom that does not feel like home?
I feel like in a certain subject, you always you want to always have the right answer. You always want to make sure you don't feel embarrassed saying the wrong thing. And I feel like it's just so many opinions in a one small space. So, but when you're dancing, it's no wrong answer. It's you. That's how you express yourself.
So question, if dance makes you feel that way, that you're not worried about what people think of you, you're not worried about anything else, and you're committing yourself to something, here's a question, like if you were talking to a room full of teachers, or people who are training teachers, what would you say to them about the type of classroom that can invoke the feeling of dance?
I think it's just like learning everybody's like who they are. Like everybody's obviously different, and it's like how you could fit that in to make it a community. So it's basically sharing your story, like getting engaged.
Yo, can I get a pound, fam? Wait, because I love what you said about creating space for folks to share their story. Like recognizing that we all have different stories, and if classrooms allowed us to share our stories, we can get to radical hospitality.
Yeah, get to know each other.
Magic. Thank you, Charisma.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Can I get like you're a natural, fam?
Thank you.
Like it's so.
You made me get out of there.
So I have the distinct honor of interviewing Diana, who is a junior at Brooklyn Prep High School. So the first question I want to ask you is just like, what does it feel like to be in this space? Like this green space outdoors? Like what is the feeling it evokes, if anything, in you?
I mean, it feels like a community. Like it feels like safe. It's really beautiful out here, and it's a nice day outside, even though it's gonna rain. But yeah, I feel good.
Feel good. All right, so I'm gonna go like straight to the point with you. You are a Dominican American who dances to hip hop and loves Afrobeat, African music. Tell me about how you get to bring all those worlds together.
I mean, like, okay, coming from a Dominican background, I feel like a lot of them forget where they come from. Like, we forget that we're all a mix of everything. So I feel like it's important to have, you know, like you listen to your Spanish music, you listen to your English music, you listen to your African music, and I feel like it's important to be well-rounded in those areas.
I love when you talk about well-roundedness and your love and passion for different forms of music, because I think about that in the context of a classroom. Do you think that classrooms allow for different cultures to express themselves, like from different forms?
I don't know, I feel like people are just in the classroom just to be in the classroom, like to learn, and just to get things done, to pass. And I feel like we don't get to really express our different cultures. Like it depends on the class because, for example, I took a African American studies class and a Latin American studies class, and I feel like we got to bring those things out, but those aren't only one classroom, you know?
Whenever I say the word dance to you, whether we're on camera or off camera, your eyes light up, your face starts smiling. What is it that dance does, even just saying the word, to you?
For me, dance is just freedom. Like, whenever I feel down or whenever I feel good, I just want to play music and just like move my body. It's just a way of expressing myself in whatever way that I want to, and I feel like that's the best thing about it. It's just a natural feeling. As soon as I hear a song that I like, I just want to move. I want to dance to somebody, like, you know, I just feel good. And it's just a way that I don't feel judged.
So I'm hearing no judgment. I'm hearing that you can move your body. And I think a lot of folks forget that to move your body for some folks is natural, like it's a part of your culture. What would you say to teachers who are considering creating classrooms that allow young folks to be physical and to move?
I mean, I say do it. Like, I feel that it would be beneficial because in a classroom, we're sitting down, we're listening to the teacher, we're like, you know, bored out of our minds if it's not a classroom that we like. So I feel like getting to move and getting to experience like each other would be really cool.
I love the idea that part of radical hospitality in the classroom is physicality and movement. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Yes.
Y'all lighting it up today, man. Y'all are so dope. If you could design your own classroom, like it's your world. They're like, yo, we giving you mad bread. It's up to you. Create a classroom that would work for somebody like you. What would it look like?
I want to chill.
Okay.
I like LED lights, so I'll probably have some LED lights, maybe something up in there.
Okay.
I don't know. I like music, but I like old R&B, so I have some music up in there.
Okay.
Since I'm kind of girly girl tomboy, so I will have something for both genders, obviously, or whatever they want to, identify themselves as. I don't know, just something chill and calm, like we could vibe,
Do you think because you keep talking about the vibe.
Yeah, it's just the vibe.
The vibe is interesting because not everybody can catch a vibe, you know what I mean? So you're saying for the vibe, you need certain sounds,
Yeah.
you need certain lighting.
But I feel like everybody got their own vibe. It's cool.
Right,
then let's say you like, I don't know, you like books, you like stuff like that. That's your own vibe.
Yeah.
We can have everybody different vibes. I don't care what kind of vibe you got. It's just a vibe.
Do you think a classroom can allow for multiple vibes to be present at the same time?
For sure. I think so.
How?
I don't know. I feel like if you don't have that type of vibe, then it's not a classroom. You know what I mean?
Wait, hold on. That's heavy, son. That's heavy. You're saying that if a teacher cannot construct a vibe, then it's not a classroom? You got to talk more about that.
Let's say you my teacher, right? And we have that type of understanding, we have that vibe, and you're gonna motivate me more to be, do my work and stuff like that because you're my teacher and I like you a lot. So now we have that understanding, like, yo, let's do this, let's get this done. And you try to help me out more, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I feel like the teachers and the students need to have that vibe, But not everybody could do that, obviously. But I feel like the teachers need to understand respecting, and the students too. But you can't give what you can't. You know what I mean?
Yo, so you said, you see now to be heating up. Because now you're like, yo, some folks have it and some folks don't. Do you think that folks who don't have a vibe can learn how to catch a vibe?
Of course.
How would you teach somebody to catch a vibe? Like to catch your vibe? Like I'm not talking about everybody else, right? You come to the class, you got a certain energy.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm half tomboy, I'm half girly girl. You know what I'm saying? I love music, you're saying all these complex things about you. What could we do to teach teachers to catch your vibe?
Having a conversation.
Well,
Having a conversation. Having that understanding, Yeah.
like some people think that's so basic, but I think that's so powerful.
OD.
Like, yo, talk to me, fam. And if you talk to me, I'll let you know what my energy is like, and then we can match energy and make magic happen.
For real.
And I think
so.
that is radical hospitality.
Really?
Like catching a vibe, engaging with me, to be able to construct a space that makes me feel like home. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you.
Lit.
How do I take these off?
1, 2, 3, 4, action.
All right, so boom. I'm just a regular girl from the land of Cardi B and A Boogie, the birthplace of hip hop. So I got a bass line for vocal cords, and I speak like rebel. Speak like I never had respect for a stolen language. I put extra emphasis on my vowels and delete consonants when I feel like it. See, but sometimes I go to speak and PWI stops me. Tells me that my language is broken. Pleads with me. Asks me to stop mashing up letters that don't go together. Asks me to take the bass out of my voice. Speak like I belong here. Speak like I belong here. Like it didn't already take me a perfect writing score just to get me here. So what else do I really need to prove to you? Like just because I speak in simple sentences with extra emphasis that I can understand the words of the boys, like he ain't the one that taught me the art of code switching in the first place. Yeah, stop it.
Lit. I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. I am very excited to talk to you today about the concept of the Collider classroom. The Collider in the world of science is an accelerator of particles that brings these particles together to high speeds, pushes them to collide against each other, and allows them to be able to generate and create energies beyond anything anyone could ever imagine. And I thought that a Collider classroom would be a space that does exactly that imagines young folks as these bodies of art and these bundles of creativity that brings them together into an environment that allows them to be able to rev at high speeds of intellect and emotion and crash against each other to be able to go out and do amazing things in the world. It is a space where young folks walk into and feel as though it is home. It is a space where young people walk into and feel as though I want to create here, I want to move here, I want to be able to change the world by what happens in this space. It is reimagining the classroom from being a location for the distribution of information and into a space where young folks are allowed to be able to collaborate, interact, but most importantly, dream and become something bigger than themselves with a vision of the future. In this last year, it's become so apparent that young people are in dire need of classrooms that support their intellectual development, that supports their emotional development, and helps them to navigate a social world that's rife with inequity and social injustice and psychological trauma. And so this classroom is a space for imagining, but also a space for healing. It's a type of environment that allows young folks to be able to merge the digital and the physical. It's a classroom that has the ideal physical location for them to be able to feel whole, but also recognizes that over the last year, they've learned how to be able to interact with this virtual world and with this online spaces. And so it's a space that makes the virtual world, the online world, the digital screen, something that's present in the physical classroom so that young folks can be their best selves in an environment that welcomes them, and also their best selves in navigating a digital world that they become accustomed to. It is a space where that sees young folks as having value beyond just an empty vessel to be able to receive information from an educator, but rather that highlights our concept and our notion that young folks are works of art, that their own realities, their own experiences, their own backgrounds, their own histories, their own cultures all come together in a way that make them unique and special and important, that they all have something beautiful to offer the world, and they need a classroom that becomes a portal that allows them to be able to bring forth into the universe all those magical things that make them who they are, or who they should be, or who they could be rather. So in addition to this concept of young folks' work of art, one of the other themes of the Collider Classroom is a place for social emotional healing and learning. This pandemic has highlighted the significance of a need for a classroom where young folks can release, all the tensions that have come with this last year. Not being able to be in person, not being able to emote, being oftentimes in home environments that may not be the best for them, and developing a need to want to learn not just how to get information, but how to interact with others, how to emotionally self-regulate, how to be able to release what they're thinking or dreaming, not just on a piece of paper, but in multiple environments in the classroom. It's a place to allow young folks to have agency beyond what they previously had. It is also a place and a setting that is conducive to a concept I call reality pedagogy. Reality pedagogy is an approach to teaching and learning that focuses on teachers understanding student realities and then utilizing the information from youth realities as a starting point for instruction. It says not that I must get the students where I want them to be, but rather I must understand where they are and then glean from them the knowledge and wisdom and understanding required to be effective for them. And so the concept of reality pedagogy needs an environment that allows the steps under reality pedagogy to come to life. Reality pedagogy has these 7 C's, right? Cogenerative dialogues, co-teaching, cosmopolitanism, a focus on context, a focus on content, a focus on competition, and a focus on curation. So on cogenerative dialogues, what kind of classroom space would allow young folks to be able to engage in cogenerative dialogues with their teacher in a way that makes them feel as though they can share with the teacher comfortably, and the teacher to be able to be in an environment where young folks are able to divulge their feelings and emotions. That requires an environment that is comfortable, that is aesthetically pleasing, that feels in many ways like home. And our theme of radical welcoming for some, or radical hospitality for others, is understanding that environments have to make young folks feel welcome in order for them to be able to share information. And if there's to share really deep information about how they feel about the instruction, that's a powerful thing to share to a teacher who's supposed to have some charge or control over, there must be a seating arrangement that allows young folks to exchange freely. There must be a art in the space to allow them to feel as though I'm represented in the art. So I feel like I can share in the space because that art speaks to me as art. Co-teaching, where young folks are able to lead the instructions, to stand up and be able to teach, and not just teach about themselves, but teach about content, not just share art or learn how to engage with art, but to be the art. To be the art, you must then be on a stage, right? How can the classroom feel like a well curated and constructed set of a play to allow the young folks, the actor, to be able to teach and deliver to an audience something that the audience may not have revealed before, that the co-teacher, the student as co-teacher becomes the expert in that space, in a stage that makes them comfortable, but also that recognizes that, not only are young folks works of art, the teaching is a performance art. And if teaching is a performance art, the backdrop to the performance must be one that captures the depth and complexity of what is to be taught and the person who is teaching. The third C of reality pedagogy is cosmopolitanism. It is the notion that every human being wants to feel responsible for other human beings, that every human being wants to be deeply connected to other human beings, that we are all strangers in the world that must come together to express and show love. And again, there must be a space that is radically different from any previous space that they have witnessed, but yet still connects to a place in their heart and soul that feels like home in a classroom. That there must be an environment that is conducive to you wanting to learn about someone who's a stranger while concurrently feeling as though you can be yourself. It's a delicate point. And so the Collider classroom has to be a space that welcomes the expression of cosmopolitanism in regards to context, which in reality pedagogy is an essential theme, because I had previously articulated that the best classrooms reflect the context or environments where youth are coming from. In this instance, I wanted to reflect where young folks are coming from, but at the same time still invoke a certain aesthetic quality of where they would dream to be, right? Like that it's a place where I feel like I could be myself, that looks like home and sounds like home, but also has these aspects or elements of what I hope home to be. That the classroom must look in many ways like a museum that features and showcases art that speaks to my soul, right? So this idea of the context is to have it reflect the context of the environment where youth are coming from, while at the same time invoking new possibilities in terms of the context where they would want to be in. Content, where academic content can be shared. And here's where it gets interesting, right? Because all I've said so far is really about a radical reimagining of what their classroom may look like, and how may this Collider classroom serve as an exemplar of what that future classroom could look like, right? But at the same time, it has to be a place where content is delivered in a way that looks like a classroom, right? Like it has to not be a classroom, but still feel like a classroom. There has to be elements of this that make you think of the traditional place where you learn, even though it's untraditional in its structure. And so for me, it's also recognizing that for content to be delivered, while it's become passé to say that, the teacher has to give the information to students, there has to be moments where the teacher is leading, and that the teacher, a place where the teacher is delivering academic content, sometimes highly rigorous, although I don't want to use rigorous in the phrase of it being like hard, but rigorous in the terms of sort of exciting, that has a lot of life. And so for that, it has to be a place where content can be delivered easily, where new information can be shared and imagined and grappled with in a way that's reminiscent of how it's been, but also imagining how it could or should be. Then we have competition, where we have to have a space where young people can sit close to each other and away from each other. That they can have teams that compete against each other around the accumulation of content knowledge, and they can always also come together to be able to compete against a faction outside of the classroom. And so, competition here is not competition in the sense of like we're battling to our death, but rather like that we can compete with each other in ways that allow us to highlight the best in each other. And that the seating arrangements in the classroom allow us to be able to configure how we sit and how we move in ways that allow us to forge different groups or duos and to compete against each other in the accumulation of content knowledge. And then finally, curation, right? A place where it's easy to record what's going on in the classroom to be studied later. A place where artifacts from the world beyond are able to be interrogated and deconstructed and reconstructed and reimagined. And the curation and competition both are about agency in a sense of mobility where young folks can engage. And so that's how the 7 C's of quadrennial dialogues, co-teaching, cosmopolitanism, context, content, competition, and curation are being considered in a construction of a collider classroom. And then finally, it's about, looking good, right? It's about recognizing that young folks know that if a person is thoughtful about the place they've designed for them to learn, it reflects that person cares about them. That when a place has been thought about, where every corner is being imagined in a way that says, how will young folks feel about this? How will they learn in this space? Like, this is a place where they could be, like, the idea is, if they know that you care enough to curate a space that matters to them, they will know that they are loved. And if they know that they are loved, then they will learn. And so these are the basic concepts or constructs that undergird the concept of a collider classroom. And it's simply as an exemplar for educators to take up as they go back to their own spaces to create some model of what they would like to be. Oh, I forgot one part, when I talk about the digital piece, for me, it's the recognition that images and sounds in many ways dictate our emotion, right? That if a young person walks into, or a group of young people walks into a space and feel angry, they're in dire need of a place to help them to be able to relax. And the teacher may not always be able to go through a set of exercises or practices to help them to be able to develop an emotion that can help to alleviate a negative emotion that already exists. And so the digital wall or the digital screen becomes a mechanism through which, the screen becomes a co-teacher, much in the same way as it was during COVID, but in a way that is curated in this sort of like data management system that reflects the kind of emotions that young folks need to be able to feel whole in the moment. That if the young folks feel the need to, they need to feel resilient, that there are images that flood the classroom to talk about resilience without saying anything. And here's the thing, that's something that can talk about the emotion without saying any words, and that there's sounds that are rustling in the backdrop that are carefully curated that can dictate a kind of emotion that needs to come forth. And so in many ways it is, the screen becomes a co-teacher that allows the visual and the sonic to support the teacher's instruction in an environment that becomes conducive to collisions, to beautiful collisions of particles that operate at high speeds to generate an energy that can transform the landscape of teaching and learning. And that is the rationale behind the Collider Classroom.